Welcome to another pattern tutorial video. In today's video, I want to show you how you can make one of these bucket bags. In particular, in this video, I will show you how to make the large version of this bucket bag. But don't worry, the construction process is the same for all of them that are included in the pattern. But I will be making this one today. The large bag also has the one variation that it also has another D-ring on the bottom of it, so that you can also attach the shoulder strap on the bottom, and then you can actually also wear it as a sling bag. In addition, I will also show you how to make this awesome closure, so that you can also just easily zip up your bag again and everything's nice and secure. And especially with this one, I just really love how clean and minimalistic the closure came out with the defined lines. With that out of the way, if you're curious, let's get started. We first want to cut all the pieces from the leather, which I've already done in this case, but you can also check out the video I linked for more details how to construct and print my patterns. And then we want to get started with the bottom, so we can take away the other pieces for now. So for the bottom we have one larger and one smaller piece. So we can also have some leeway here where we can attach the side pieces later on. But the bottom support should be glued in place. Then, once this is spread nice and evenly, we can just put this on our larger bottom piece. And we want to make sure that it's nice and centered. And this is also the reason why I prefer to use white glue, because this gives you the option to do some minor corrections, whereas contact cement, that piece will be glued in place no matter what. Then I will just put some weights on this and leave this to dry, so we can go on with the cord attachments. Then we have our two cord attachments, where to get started, I will first bevel and burnish these top sides. We don't need to bevel the sides and the bottom, because they will not really be visible later on anyway. Then for the next step, I will take my skiving knife and go over these edges on the outside and thin them out, because this will make the side construction later on quite a bit easier and smoother. And lastly, I will also be marking the middle line. And then I take my edge groover and cut down the middle. The last two steps are not really mandatory, but they will make it much easier for the assembly later, because we will fold this piece in half and have the D-ring inserted here, and these folds just work much easier if you do these two steps. And with this part folded over, we can take our chisels and just punch 4 holes through both sides, so we can use that to attach the D-ring to the cord attachment. Then we repeat the same for the other one. We want to attach the D-rings to the cord attachments, and for that I just take a little bit of sewing thread. Then we take one of our cord connectors and our D-ring, fold this over and start sewing the pieces together. And here you can go with quite a few different styles of stitching. For example, you can just do a square, you can also do a cross, depending on what you prefer. For this one I will just be doing a square, so I'll just pull these two ends through. So I start here at the top, and then I want to make a cross on the back side. So I will take one, put it in the opposite corner, go through it, pull it tight, repeat the same for the other one. Then on the front side, switch them on the sides so that we still stay on the bottom. Do the same for the second thread. So now we have two lines on the top and the bottom. And then we will just be doing the sides as well. So I take again one thread, put it on the top corner, and from the top back to the bottom, and repeat for the other side. And back through the bottom. So now you should have a square on the top side and this on the back. And normally for the stitching we would want to do a back stitch to secure everything in place. But because this part will not be visible later on anyway, what I like to do is do not back stitch it, because then it might not look as nice on the top. But instead I'll just do a knot on the back and probably two more for good measure. And then we can just cut off the excess thread. And burn the rest with our zipper. And there we have one cord attachment finished. And then we repeat the stitching steps for the other one. Now, with both the cord attachments sewn together, we can take our contact cement and then glue together the sides. So I'll just take some contact cement and spread it evenly all across the side pieces. And then once they're dry, we can take them and fold them together. And we want to align these outside edges and start pressing towards the middle. And lastly, to put them a little bit more into shape, I like to take my hammer and tap them down so that this change of angle from the front here to the back is smoother, so we have less problems attaching it to the sides later on. Then our cord attachments are done and we can continue to the main body. For our main body, we have the front and the back piece, and we will first want to start burning and beveling those front top edges. Then, next up, if you want to do this build with the eyelets, you want to punch and insert the eyelets now. Otherwise, if you don't want to insert the eyelets, you can also only punch the hole. After we inserted our eyelets, we can take care of our darts, where we already have the markings indicated on the pattern. So we will just cut out these small strips. And I like to use a hole punch right at the end of our cut. So that our cuts should look a little bit like this. And where this helps is that next up we will need to stitch our darts together, and due to the cut at the end, or rather the punch, this step is quite a bit easier and it folds more nicely at the end. As a next step, we will want to punch our holes to fix the darts in place. So I will first mark our stitch line. And then we can start stitching together our darts. We can also get one of these little binding clippers and just put it on here to fixate everything in place, which again makes stitching a bit easier. Then with our needle and thread, we can just start on the top hole and then start stitching our way down. Okay, now that we have our darts assembled, you can also already pre-fold these corners so that the dart goes towards the inside and the eyelets should overlap each other, and then just press down these seams. And next up we can actually start attaching the sides together, and for that, first of all, I will be using my wing divider and set it to the width of our corner here in the bottom, and then just mark the stitch line all the way down on the sides. And then start cutting a groove along this. And this will be helpful later on when we turn the bag inside out again, that we get a nicer seam on these sides. Then, before we start punching those sides, I also like to attach the cord attachments here on the side, so that we can punch through them in one go and everything's already held together in place. Then we can just add a little bit of contact cement on these edges. Then, once the cord attachments are dried, we can just glue them into place. Now we can mark our stitch line for both the sides and the bottom piece as well, on both the front and the back piece. So we just mark the stitch line and then we can punch everything before sewing it together. Okay, now with all the stitching holes punched, we can actually start putting the sides together. And for this, we want to stitch them with their grain sides facing each other. So basically, we want to strap them down together like this, and then start sewing together both of these sides. And for me, to make life a little bit easier, I again use these binder clips and start fixating the seams in place so that I have a little bit easier time on my stitching pony in a second. From here, we can go over to the stitching pony and then start stitching up those seams. Now that we have the main body assembled, we come to the tricky part where we will need to turn it inside out. And for me, the easiest way so far to do this is starting from the top. We just fold everything in and we start working our way around. And it starts slowly coming out the other side. And then next up, we can start pressing down the seams we just stitched earlier. If you recall, in the beginning, we started gluing the bottom piece here. So now for the next step, we will also secure the bottom by stitching this outline. So I'll just take my wing divider, we can mark our stitch line. And then we can start stitching this up. After we stitched our bottom piece together, we can start beveling and burnishing those edges as well. Then next up is also punching the holes on the bottom so we can actually attach the bag to the bottom. For that, I'll just once again take my wing divider, go all around the edge. And before we attach the bottom to the bag, we also just quickly bevel and burnish this small rectangular piece, where we then can also add the D-ring for the bottom if you want to wear this as a crossbody bag. We can just apply some contact cement on the ends of the strip. And then once dry, we just fold it in half and glue it together so that we have our D-ring attached. And then we punch the holes. I will show you in the next step when to actually attach this piece to the bottom as well. Okay, now we get to the tricky part of actually attaching our bottom to our bag. To get started, I will first pull my sewing thread and the needle through the center hole that is also indicated in the pattern. Then we pull this thread through and put it into the next stitching hole. And now this needle will go through our first hole in the bag. We start pulling this close, and from here we can start stitching all the way around, and later I will show you how to finish these seams so that they are nice and tight without any holes or gaps visible. First, from here we'll need to stitch all the way around till we go on to the other side. And once you locked your first stitch in place, the easiest way I find to do this is to do the first needle from the outside, put it through both the bottom and the back, and then with your hand on the inside, pull it through, and then this part is a bit tricky to explain because you cannot see it, but what I do with the second needle that needs to go back through the front, I orient myself on the thread that I have on the inside so I can find the stitching hole, and then from there put it again on the outside and start pulling everything close, and then repeat. So first put the needle through from the outside to the inside, then we pull the thread tight and use the tight thread to direct our needle to the stitching hole on the inside. Then again put it outside and pull everything tight. And just rinse and repeat. Now that we reached the halfway point on the other side, we want to go once through the bottom, but not the stitching hole on the bag. And then the next stitch goes through the first one on the other half of the bag. And then from there we can continue all the way until the other side, where we repeat the same process. And now that I have 1-2 stitches pulled, you can see that you get a very clean overlap. Just before we reach the finishing stitches, if you want to wear this as a crossbody bag, you can now also add the small D-ring attachment. And then we will just go through the bottom first, then through the D-ring connector, and then finally through the hole on the bottom. And then we can just continue stitching as normal, while making sure that we will also always go through the stitching on the D-ring. Then for the last steps, I'll be using these 3 straps to make a shoulder strap. And first we want to start on the side with the buckle, where I will fold this in half, but in a way that we have a few centimeters left over on this side. Press down. So we have our marking where we can make the holes for the buckle. And because I will be gluing these 2 together, I will also skive off a little bit of the end here. And then I'm just going to use a 3mm hole punch. To make these 2 holes right and left of the center. And with a knife, cut them out. And then we can place our buckle here in the middle. And then we can glue this piece together. And I will be repeating the same for the longer side, where these can be glued together directly. And again here, I will leave off a few centimeters of the end, because that will be folded over in the end, so that we can attach our swivel hook. When the pieces are dry, we can start folding them and gluing them together. Then we can start sewing these pieces together. If you want to do it by hand, you can just mark the stitch line all around, punch it and sew it together. But because this is a really long one, I will be doing this one on a sewing machine because I am lazy. Now that the shoulder strap is sewn, we can tap down the threads and then bevel and burnish everything all around. To finish the shoulder straps, we can just wrap around the end parts. The same for the other one. Take our swivel hook, put it on there, and secure everything with a rivet. Then on the long side of the shoulder strap, I will also be adding the holes for the buckle to put through. So I will just mark the first one. I do this with a wing divider that I basically just set to half the width of the strap. And then I mark another hole every 3 centimeters. We're just missing one more piece, and that is the cord attachment to make sure our bag stays closed. And I will just bevel and burnish the top and the bottom edge again, and then we can punch the holes both on the outside and the inside. And then for this one, what I usually like to do is make a cross stitch on the front. And for that, we'll start from the back side. Put the needle through the front. Then the same for the other one on this other side. And then we just take this thread, put it on the other side in the second row, pull it through. Then for this one, same to the second row. And then pull everything tight. And then on the back, we stay in the same row, but just cross the sides. Again, for both needles. So we're back at the same situation, just on the second row, and then we repeat this all the way down. Now the only part left is to assemble our bag, and for that we will need around 90 centimeter long leather cord. Also you can use a rope if you prefer, for example. And to thread this, we'll start at the front here through the back. And this is the important part, that for the darts here, this needs to be on the outside before we go back on the inside. And then just work our way all around the bag. Then the leftovers should be roughly equal in length. And then we can take our and just put it through the cord. This one actually has a really good fit. And then we pull it close, and then we can use this to close our bag. And then in the end, we can also either tie together or just tie them individually, depending on what you prefer. In my case, I will also be cutting them down to length. Knead them a little bit, because otherwise they can be quite stiff. And then the only piece missing is a shoulder strap. And for this large version, you can choose whether you want to add it on both of the sides, so you can wear it as a shoulder bag, or you can also use the D-ring at the bottom, and then you can actually wear it as a sling bag as well. Now to test everything. And you can hopefully also see that we have the nice leather bottom with a good support, so it's actually also has a good stand. And just like that, we can close it as well.